I was saying, if something just isn't God's will, it won't happen. That's what I'd like to know. Is it God's will for me? That's what I'd like to know. Is it God's will for me? Because if it's not the will of God, if it's not God's desire, if those desires in my heart are not God's desires, they won't happen. They just simply will not happen because they're not even God's desires for me.
Hey, don't put anything on the internet that will,
That,
have knocking on our door.
Yeah, Mom, you think I'm not.
I hope not.
You don't think I'm not stupid, do
Well,
you?
you were once.
I'm just trying to clarify. I'm not as stupid as I used to be. Okay, maybe in the past I was stupid, but now I'm not stupid. Like, as a matter of fact, this is what the point I'm trying to stress out. Now I know a lot of the things that back then I could say, yeah, I was stupid and dim and not very bright. But I know a lot more now. Like, for instance, if there's any desires in my heart, and there are only my own desires and not the God's desires, then they won't happen. Down unless the desires that are in the garden of my heart are the desires of God, God's desires for me in my life. I desire certain things in my life, but this is why I'd like to know if they're God's desires. Because if they're only my own desires, they will never happen, not if they're my own desires. But if they are God's desires for me in my life, I know then they will happen. They will happen because they are God's desires for me in my life. I have certain desires in my heart that I would like them to come to pass. But the only way that they can happen is they have to be God's desires for me in my life. I desire certain things, but the only way that those desires are ever going to happen is the desires that are in the garden of my heart have got to be God's desires for me in my life. Because if they are not God's desires for me in my life, they just will not happen. And if they did happen, which they will not unless they are God's desires for me in my life. If they did happen, those things I think would make me happy would not make me happy. I know that. Those things that I think would make me happy, and then it wouldn't be long before I'd realize those things don't make me happy. They make me very unhappy. Whereas if they're not my desires, but they are God's desires for me in my life, they'll make me happy because God's desires will always make you happy. Your desires, there's a time when you think, oh yeah, your desires will make you happy, but then comes a time when you realize, hey, my desires don't make me happy. My desires make me very unhappy. Perhaps if I did things God's way, and perhaps if I did what God desires from me in my life, I would be happy if they, perhaps I would be happy if they were God's desires from me in my life. But because they were my own desires, then I'm happy for a little bit, but then I realize I'm not happy.
Michael, is this something?